Bum, 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 bum.
Hello class. So by the picture, can you guys guess what we'll be going over? It is the muscular system. And the muscular system, what is it? Why is it important and what functions does it provide for us?
Hey guys, my name is Robert. Today we're going to talk about and explain the three types of muscles of the muscular system: cardiac, skeletal, and smooth, and also why keeping our muscular system healthy is important. So this cardiac muscle is made up of many individual cells called cardiomyocytes. These cardiomyocytes are what allows the blood to pump out of the heart. So each cardiomyocyte works together with its neighboring cells and are almost in like a rhythm. So when this rhythm is broken, it can cause the heart to stop working and not pump blood out of the heart. Basically, how the muscle works is we're gonna pretend this is the heart. This is the cardiac muscle. So every time this muscle contracts, it basically narrows the heart. So boom.
Through pumping all the blood out as the muscles contract tighter around it.
Moving on to the second type of muscle is the skeletal muscles. When talking about muscles, first things that comes to mind are the muscles we can see, the ones everyone cares about, and what defines how our body. Skeletal muscles happen to be the only types of muscles we can move voluntarily, which means we can control them, we can move them whenever we want. When we talk, we can use them for exercising, for everything we do. So these skeletal muscles are made up of muscle fibers and myosatellite cells. These myosatellite cells are activated when exercising and promote growth and strength. Moving on from skeletal muscles, we have our third and final type of muscle in our body. This muscle is an involuntary muscle found in basically all of our hollow organs. This includes our intestines, stomach, reproductive organs, some respiratory organs, veins. So these skeletal muscles happen to be the only types of muscles we can move voluntarily, which means we can control them, we can move them whenever we want. When we talk, we can use them for exercising, for everything we do. So these skeletal muscles are made up of muscle fibers and myosatellite cells. These myosatellite cells are activated when exercising and promote growth. The muscular system has many different functions depending on what you're looking at. You could be looking at a type of muscle, skeletal, cardiac, smooth. You could be looking at a certain location or a certain muscle action. But to sum it all up, the muscular system controls all the movement that goes on in our bodies. This can be from us talking, doing everyday things, to things we can't control, like our digestion and our heart pumping. Smooth muscle, unlike our skeletal and cardiac muscle, is very elastic. It's very important for it to have this ability because, as I mentioned before, it lines the walls of hollow organs, which means stuff is going to pass through them. So having the ability to adjust to different sizes and proportions is very important for this muscle. For example, in our digestive tract, where we digest food doesn't come in one size. It comes in different sizes, different textures, and having the ability to adjust to these different sizes.
What is the muscular system? Well, the muscular system is an organ system that allows us to be able to move our body. It is made of proteins, of actin and myosin that are connected to our bones. And this allows our muscles to contract and create these movements of walking and running with our skeletal muscles. In simple terms, they are attached to our tendons that allow us to make these movements, as well as our eye movements, facial expressions, and respiration, as well as stability. Muscles, well, they're attached to our bones as well as their internal organs and blood vessels. This is what allows us to be able to make all these functional movements throughout our body. Looking closer into the images, you can see more in depth of how the muscle fibers and the muscle contraction and what is involved. Looking at the image above, you can see how an inside of the muscle. The single muscle cell you can see above, one of the fibers that is built together inside that surrounds all the tissue and connects to our ligaments and our bones that allow for our muscles to contract, allowing us to have all these movements. In these images, you can see more so as to where the muscles are located and how they allow us to move. With muscle contractions seen above, we can see the muscle fibers and tendons and how they move, and the muscle filaments and how they look, how the pattern looks when our muscles are relaxed and when they are contracted. When our muscles contract, this allows us to have all our many different functions of movement, joint stability, posture, heat production. This is what helps us burn our food. When I talk about the muscles contracting, this is when the muscle is shortened, and usually with the two protein cells that make up the muscle is the actin and the myosin that are connected to the bones, and causing a sliding of the myosin along of the actin that allows us to have this movement. This would be the muscle in terms of it contracting. Now, this is an image more as how it looks when our muscle shortens and causes those contractions and those tensions to make those movements. Some very interesting facts about the muscular system. 1/3 of our body weight is from the muscular system. And not only does the muscular system work alone, since there is about 3 types, it does work in coercion of the skeletal system, which allows us to have our stability as well as our movement with our bones. In learning about the muscular system, it's important to look over the muscular system anatomy and learn of the major muscles. There are face muscles, our chest muscles, our abdominal muscles, our quadricep muscles, our biceps, our deltoids. These are some just common subgroups of the muscles. Another image that I put up so you can see the posterior and exterior, the front and back of the muscular system and the muscles. You can see before, such as the latissimus dorsi, the gluteus maximus, and as we move further down, we see the biceps femoris. We weren't able to see those in the images shown before, but in this example, you have a front and back, and you are able to see your muscles, your sartorius, your biceps femoris, your rectus femoris, your gastrocnemius, and your Achilles tendon. We're pretty familiar with the Achilles heel as well as the mythology, but this is your Achilles tendon. Who's Andrew Fielding Huxley? Well, Andrew Fielding Huxley was a physiologist, and he worked with Alan Hodgkin, and together they came up with a theory as well as invention of the progression of the telescope to be able to see more in depth of the muscular system and learn about it. It wasn't until the late 1950s where we were able to gain more insight of the muscular system and how the muscles contract and work. Though the muscular system wasn't quite fully discovered until the late 1950s, we now learn that how many functions the muscular system provides for us and how important it is for us, as well as keeping our muscles in check and strengthening them. Our muscles play a large part in our life, as we learned throughout the presentation, such as helping us digest our food, helping us breathe, even by helping us pump blood to our heart. and throughout our body. It's important, especially in kinesiology. Kinesiology being the study of human movement. The muscular system is part of what allows us to move and is a big part of why we are able to move in correlation with the skeletal system.